Hello, Faisal.
Hi, Amy.
You've talked before about the prejudice of enlightenment, and I'd love for you to just say something about that.
Oh, okay. Enlightenment is the biggest calling that we have so much now circulating in this spiritual realm and seeking, and the time that we are in makes it even such a necessity that it has become a household terminology, enlightenment. And yet there happened something about it that I think kind of restrict and limits what enlightenment could really mean, and that has to do with defining enlightenment in a very particular way. And that is that enlightenment is an experience, particular kind of experience that we can reach. And when we reach that, we awaken from our mind and issues and all of that, and we see our basic nature and being. And it has been defined only as that dimension. When you reach that, when you go there to that experience that is beyond the conceptual domain, beyond the manifestation, beyond all of that, you reach the enlightened nature or the true nature of mind and being, or God, or you name it. And that has become, as much as an invitation, also a restriction, because it has set the mind, especially the Western mind, in a direction to zoom only on that experience as enlightenment and negate everything on the way to it as non-enlightenment. And it has become that experience or that dimension as reality, and everything else is mostly an illusion, not a reality, or manifestation, as if the manifestation and the source are different. It has produced certain kind of prejudice in our mind that this is enlightenment and this is not enlightenment, and this is an illusion and this is real. This very concept is a huge stumbling block in the richness and the unfoldment of the enlightened nature and all its attributes. And that really to awaken to what is here, there comes a realization that there is nothing that's an illusion, that even illusion is real. Even thought that is wrong thought, or an elusive thought, or a psychotic thought, or a schizophrenic thought, is real. It causes headaches, it causes diseases, it causes... So the idea that only that is real and the other is not real created a severe splitting and created a severe drive in negating the totality of the kingdom that we live within. Yes, in order to reach the supreme being, the basic nature, you need to let go of all of the mind, our own mind, and its story, in order to perceive what is beyond it, the true nature of mind. But when you reach that, the true nature of mind, or the being, the basic nature, begin to unfold with richness beyond anything we can really imagine, and more. It doesn't negate an ego, it includes an ego, it includes our illusion, it shows us that this is not true, that our belief system may be not reality, our conditioning that we have maybe not authentic conditioning, but it doesn't say only the absolute exists. It says that the absolute exists and its differentiating aspect, like love. joy, groundedness, physical universe, essential universe, all of that are part of one holistic kingdom, that's manifesting on multi levels. I call it three-dimensional level of reality. The relative, which we see now, and then the essential, which is hidden, like the different aspect of being, like the Sufis call it 99 names of Allah, or I don't know. So,
Faisal, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Hold on. Okay, so I'm sorry that I needed to sign for that. Of course he would come now. So what we'll do, let's see. Is it still recording? Oh, it's still recording. Okay, so maybe we can just edit that out. Do you remember where you were?
Yes. Yeah, there are so many manifestations. We can summarize them in three dimensions, three realms.
Okay.
The relative, which is what we know now, and there's so much to discover about it because we don't know. And then there is the spiritual or the essential dimension, which is dimensions like of love and joy and happiness and empowerment and so much different dimensions of energies and presences, but they are subtler forms and can be experienced and detected. Then basic nature, source, from which all of these come. It's just like there is the ocean, which is a body of water, comes from it mist or steam and becomes cloud and becomes rain or snow. All of those are the same, but different forms, different manifestation of the same thing. They are all water, So the basic nature differentiates itself into essential domain like love and joy. In our teaching, we call it like gold and diamond and all of those qualities that are beautiful. And these congeal or manifest as physical reality. These frequencies of energies, they condense more and more. It's just like water becomes steam and then becomes cloud, condenses more and more, becomes snow, becomes ice. These energies get denser and denser in frequency till we see the whole manifested physical reality, which is nothing but frequencies of the absolute. Mm-hmm. Nowadays in physics and all of those things, they are reaching this dimension that something comes from somewhere and manifests and all of those things. There's profound knowledge about it to be discovered, but science is still young in this dimension. They are just really tapping on this mystery. The dilemma with spirituality is that it negated those two realms, including that this physical universe is also an illusion, that this body is an illusion. So it made such a huge prejudice about so many things, to the degree that people sometimes renounce their bodies, renounce their worldly life, renounce their I don't know, this nation is bad and this nation, so much enmity based on prejudice that this is not real and that is real. This is kosher and that's not kosher. This is all of those things.
And Faisal, you're referring to the non-dual teachings, right?
Yes, to some of that non-dual teaching that's there. And one of the biggest that I found, one of the biggest stumbling blocks in this whole spiritual domain, which stuns me really, is that the negation of a self. That there has been so much emphasized as the Buddha nature, the enlightened nature, is the self. And anything else is not, there is no self. So I don't exist, this whole phenomena of mind, ego, body, trouble, the whole goat market it's not real. Only the absolute is real. And that is myself. Then who am I? What am I doing here? Am I just a drop that came from the absolute, drop from the ocean, returns to the ocean and finished? What's that about? It's meaningless. It's absurd. It has no meaning to me whatsoever. That I love it when Rumi says that the drop of the ocean that's separated from the ocean returns to the ocean and becomes a pearl. It doesn't dissolve in the ocean. In this definition that only the absolute is self and there is no self, in doing so, spirituality negated the individuated soul, the individuated human being, the one that is living, participating, co-creating, evolving this universe. You know? Otherwise, this universe is a field, a source, with an automatic pilot running the show. You know, it's nothing more than that. So for me to name the being, the source, as self is one of the biggest traps we fell into. You know, because in that we subtly negated the individuated self. To me, the being is selfhood, is the true nature of self, but not self. It is selfhood itself. But you and me is just like fish in the ocean. There is an ocean and it's our nature and we live in it and we die in it and we evolve, but we are entities living in it. These entities, each entity is a self. That this self is what we suffer the most about psychologically when we lose it. And which everyone on earth is seeking. Everyone is a narcissist, everyone is looking for a self, one way or another, including negating of a self. There is obsession in humanity. I and me and myself, the Holy Trinity is there, you know. And nobody says, why do we have it? Well, we have it because it has an origin, you know. We have a self and we lost it in growth and development. You know, when we were children and, you know, I think around 7 to 9 years old, we lose it completely. We lose the connection to it and we get fixated in an ego, in a fixation in the enneagram, you know, an ego. So the ego is nothing but the product of separation from the self. It's the attempt to hold onto the self, to negotiate about the self, to actualize the self. It is not about the absolute being and nature being. That is like the ground, you know. But more than the ground, it's the individuation. I came here to do something, you came here to do something. And we are unique, like unique fish in the ocean. Each self is unique. It has preciousness, it has purpose, it has evolution. These entities, these multitudes of these sparkling stars within that constitute, that are really the human soul, a being of light that comes into form, take on a body to do whatever it needs to do in this kingdom. This self has been mostly negated by spirituality, and most of the spiritual, in the sake of just going to the absolute and enlightenment, they negated its existence, you know. And the result is that many in the spiritual realm suffer immensely because they are fighting the impulses of this self, and they confuse the ego self, which is, yeah, it's not true. It is made of ideas, beliefs, images, you know, all of that. It's not the real self, you know. But there is an intermediary self that is not the absolute. And that's really beautiful. Christ is Christ. Buddha is Buddha. You know, Dalai Lama is Dalai Lama. Shelley is Shelley. Faisal is Faisal. We are unique. There is no one like us. You know, and nobody will ever be like us. You know. Leaving this, negating this, and focusing on the prejudice for just that field and that awakening left a huge whole in the psycho-spiritual development and evolution. And the result is that we are so lost, and we are each time a challenging question about the purpose of life and the purpose of who we are comes up for a person, we try to transcend it. So we aim at transcendence rather than eminence, you know. And this self, I love it. It's always symbolized by Christ on the cross. Cross is like horizontal and vertical, spiritual and material. And there is a person there who is the unifier of the two realms, the spiritual and the material. You know, at where they meet is where the human being is. At the pinnacle of their meeting is the human being, where the human being is. 1 foot in the relative, 1 foot in the absolute. And we are the creators. We are the weavers, taking from the absolute source and energy and sometimes inspiration and from the material challenges, and then we weave them and we try to make a resolution, and then we have a purpose to live and to let live, to love, to co-create. This has been negated so much that it took me so much time to be free from this prejudice of enlightenment, because I was an absolutist. Always wanted to go to the absolute and find every answer in the absolute, you know, till one day I had to leave the absolute. It didn't answer me, you know. There was something in me said, you know, I transcended today and I wake up tomorrow and this little voice comes and says, how about me? I say, you still exist, you know. And, oh, you're an ego, you are really, you know. Then I recognize that this is Mighty Mouse, it doesn't die, you know. And the way to it is not by transcending it, but by listening deeper to this voice. What's it about? By listening to that deeper, it led me to its source. That this voice longing to where it came from. This is the ego saying, but how about me? Where do I come from? And if you erase me, I may never take you home. So in the ego, there is a program. There is some kind of intrinsic knowledge that we come from a very unique entity, a very unique person, and I want to go back to it. Whether I go back to it through enlightenment, through God, through Las Vegas, it doesn't matter. Everybody want to go back to find the self, you know. And then many try to transcend it, and that's what I call the prejudice of enlightenment, that we became absolutists and left the magic, the whole magic and the sorcerer, you know. We went to the source and left the sorcerer. The sorcerer are you and me. And we are constantly resourcing from source, co-creating. Most of the time we creating messes because we are in our ego. And when we go back to our unique soul, this divine, beautiful being, this entity, then our creation becomes meaningful, becomes harmonious with the kingdom and with the evolution, becomes a piece of art, becomes mastery. You know. So the prejudice of enlightenment, aiming at only that state, I feel, has done so much offness. You know, really, when I hear.
Faisal, could you say a little bit more about the self, the source of light, the spirit of light, just to put some backbone around that piece?
Yes. Let's say that, you know, we have an ego self, right, which is made of images and belief systems. We have a body that also has a form and an image. We have a basic nature that is formless, boundless. There is, in all of that, there is an entity, a person, an entity. This person is not made of physical, it's made of light. It's made of jewels, made of light. Often you see it like when you look at the Tibetan tankas, you know, you see this gorgeous entities, Tara with a crown and jewels and those, one magnificent being after another, wearing jewels and crowns. Those jewels are made of light. It's condensed, compressed light. I hope science will discover one day that light can be compressed and become diamonds. You know, what we see becomes diamonds, pearls, gold, an entity made of the most precious element. And each element of those qualities have a virtue to it. So this is a very virtuous being. Like gold is love, pearliness is nobility. So much of those higher aspiration in our soul that we seek for is because it is our nature. We are made of those elements, and those elements are not concepts and ideas, they are an actual condensations of energies. And those energies can, when they run through our mind and ego, we can have interpretation for them as love or joy or intelligence or wisdom, you know. So it's like when we download it in this apparatus, we have conceptual association with it. If not, it is direct experience of those feelings and those elements. This being of light is mentioned in so many ways. Like I think in Sufis mention it in the one book called Man of Light in Iranian Sufism. You know, Christianity, of course, we have the ultimate archetype of this entity, the Christ, you know, who manifested as Jesus. The entity, the Mahastar, the highest of all the points, the highest of all these beings, manifested in a form, incarnated as Christ. And even though this Christ went through whatever episode and suffering and all of this, he resurrected. This entity, in spite of all the suffering in this realm, remained intact and resurrected and reached its, you know, me and the Father and one, its enlightenment and all of those things. So the Christ is not exactly Jesus, you know, nor just the Father, the Absolute. It's an entity in between, intermediary, took on a form of the Christ body, lived in a certain time. They say this entity, the same entity of the Christ, also came again, reincarnated again, as the Avalokiteshvara of Tibet. You know, that the Christ, when he was Jesus, went to Kashmir, to India, died there, and in living there, he connected with the Tibetan, and they asked him to come and manifest. And he said, I'll come back to you 600 years later. 600 years later, Guru Rinpoche was born. And Tibetan lineage seems to be so Christian. Love and heart and joy and devotion, except they add to it less churchiness. It's more celebration and more, you know, all of, you know, the inner richness of the soul. So in the intermediary realm between pure source being and between the material, there exists a dimension of light, you know. And this is what we know as soul. We are souls, we're entities, you know. And even the Dalai Lama, in one of his interviews in a book called The Nature of Mind, the first time ever somebody talks like that, he said, we are entities that exist forever and ever. You know, I even remember the page 57 in that little book. And that entity, they say the Hindus and other religions believe in the moment of enlightenment, in moksha and joining the, you know, the Mahanirvana, this entity dissolved in the absolute. He said, nobody dissolves in the absolute. This entity remains there, it awakens more. Maybe in the temporary experience, in the first stages of experience, you don't feel you have a self that is separate, that's unique. You feel you and the ocean are one. But that's only temporary. When you awaken deeper in the absolute, when your inner muscles strengthen, you awaken in the absolute, and then in that luminosity, you begin to experience the presence of your individuated being. It took me 6 months soaking, bathing in enlightenment before this entity manifested. Before I could see myself, I am a being of jewels. And then I called it the diamond entity, you know. So he said that even Buddha, his entity still exists. It doesn't dissolve in Mahanirvana. Everybody exists as this entity made of light, and those light are made jeweled light. And each jewel has knowledge in it. It's like a mini chip. When you take a diamond, let's say a blue diamond, you put it in this consciousness, it translates as, let's say, compassion or wisdom or something like that. This magical being, this most beautiful being, this is to me God or Goddess. This is the one that co-create. And this God or Goddess create from the field of Godhood, from the cosmic mind, all the creation we see. The dilemma is humanity are creating messes because this God or Goddess can fall, can get caught into mind, into conditioning, into samsaric field. Then we forget who we are. Then every day we are creating from the field our conditioning, the same way of thinking, the same way of feeling, the same bodily, formations, and we forget that this entity exists and that this entity is a prisoner of its own creation. One of the most illuminating encounters I had was with a nun in Italy a few years ago. I used to go there teach in a monastery, 6-7 years ago. And she asked about spirituality, and I was telling her about being enlightened and liberated and all of those things. And she said to me, the trouble with all of you spiritualists is that you don't believe in a defeated God and a broken God. And that was, my God, the immensity of this realization. Christ on the cross, crying, screaming, why have you forsaken me? Broken. Then he awakened. Nobody has forsaken him. It was the pain that separated him. We are in such severe pain that we are separated from this creator within and from the source of the creation. This creator is being negated and now it's attributed to the absolute. Everybody thinks the absolute is a creation, is the creator. The absolute doesn't create, doesn't do anything. It's source. We create. The dilemma is that we are defeated God, broken gods and goddesses, and we're creating messes. And when we awaken, we assume creativity with responsibility, with love, with joy. And we need now to awaken. Humanity really need to awaken that we are the gods and goddesses. We are the co-creators. We probably created this universe before Big Bang. We were here from beginningless beginning to endless end. So this magical entity that is God and Goddess can be defeated by our own karma, by our own creation. Mind, this immensity of mind, the cosmic mind, the absolute, we can create from it illusions, belief systems, and we become prisoners of those belief systems. So to me, it's that this is the divine prisoner. That God is really defeated, is broken, fell for its own, suffering, and Christ exemplified for us. The Mahastar that was born in house of flesh, Bethlehem. Bethlehem is house of flesh. And this happens every day. It's not just happened at that time. Every day, bunch of them pop up in this world, stars born in house of flesh, and showed us the struggle of being in life, including being nailed on the cross of the personality and the ego, and being liberated, resurrection into the body of light and resurrection. It's really describe the journey of the point of light. We call this being of light, the point of light. While Buddha described the journey toward liberation, mind and being free from the mind and realizing the true nature of mind. While the Christ showed us the path of salvation, how the soul, the creator, can be can fall into illusion, and how to awaken from this illusion and transform these false belief system into fertile ground of creativity and evolution. This magical being is the most beautiful I have encountered. And from all what I've seen, and I've seen a lot, dimensions and being, and there isn't one single being who has a free will except this one. Ego has no free will, it's conditioned. Angels have no free will, they are conditioned. Archangels are less than this point of light. The absolute doesn't have free will. It only does what it is made to do. It's like a mind. It's mind, and it can create. You ask it to create, it creates. You ask it not to create, it quiets down. You know, it's a field. It's an electromagnetic field, a giant electromagnetic field that Einstein realized in mathematics and Buddha realized in direct experience. But the one who does all the magic and has the free will is this entity. Is really this entity. So to me, it's like, why don't they talk about it? Why don't they glorify what we are and guide us to use our awakening and the wisdom and the knowledge to discover who we are, to heal, to transform, and take care of each other and the planet. So for me, the prejudice of enlightenment has shed such a blind spot over the human glory and what we are.
Faisal, I so appreciate what you're saying, and part of that, let's say, confusion and blind spot might be in the languaging.
Yes.
So I'd love for you to talk about self, point of light, spirit of light, all of those things as it relates more specifically to this glorious being that you're talking about.
Maybe I don't get the question. These are different names I try to use. You know.
So and if you could be more specific about, okay, what exactly does that mean? Point of light. What does that mean? A person. Is it the soul of the person?
Yes. We call it the soul of the person, but the soul is a person. But a person not made of personality.
Okay.
And not made of a body.
Okay, so you're saying soul as is separate from the ego?
Yes. And separate from the body.
Okay. Is the point.
Yes, and it has subtler frequencies, you know, that can be detected when you really calm down. And in fact, even when you don't calm down, even like moment when you are thrilled or excited or elated, or you feel something sparkling within you, if you look, you will find something shining there. But most people don't pay enough attention to it, you know. Recently, I saw an interview of a bishop and the Dalai Lama, you know, and the Dalai Lama was talking about Buddhism and the bishop was supposed to talk about Christianity. So after a little time, Dalai Lama talking about, you know, the mind and the nature of mind and being liberated and reaching our humanness and all of that, which is very beautiful. After he finished, the bishop, I mean, God bless his soul, I don't remember him. He looked bathing in divine love, divine light, you know. I mean, so much embodying the spirit of Christ, because Christ has something about his soul that has to do with embodiment and emanation of the highest frequency of love that I know, divine love. I mean, just divine mercy, divine love. Forgive them for they not know what they're doing. That kind of love. He had that glowing in him. He said to the Dalai Lama, Your Holiness, you know, we have something different than what you talk about. We have a person we tend to. In Christianity, there is a person, and we call upon him, and we ask him to help us, and he bestows upon us love and grace and guidance. You know, do you have that? in all the talk the Dalai Lama was talking, somehow he overlooked this, that there is a person, and this person is not an ordinary person, maybe exists in a different realm, person maybe of light, made of light, or made of higher frequencies, you know. And he said, oh, we have the same. Every day I pray for my Buddha, and he's a person, he's an entity, and there are many, you know, like bodhisattvas and all of those things. And I almost jumped saying, why don't you say so? Why don't you tell humanity how precious we are, that each one of us is a unique fish in the ocean? And maybe there is a Mahafish there, grand entity who is wiser, and that this soul evolves, this person evolves, it's made of this precious element, but this person, if it got the right ingredients, love, growth, all of this, will learn a lot of wisdom about this worldly existence. And if it got spiritual guidance, spiritual teaching, can unfold. It's like it can, and instead of having 2 wings, it can have 1,000 wings, you know. This being can be magnificent, gorgeous. When you, for a seer, you know, when you, I can see those entities. For a seer, that you can see the point of light of Christ, and you see the point of light of an ordinary person, it's like the difference is so immense. Here is a soul that is full of jewels and glory and richness and love and wisdom and immense lifetimes till Christ became Christ. It didn't happen just like that. It was merited. It was, you know, really hard work to reach that level, you know. And somebody who hasn't done that, who spent their life wasting their source of energy, wasting their chi, wasting their wisdom, their soul is like thin soul. You look at it like a flame of candle, you know, almost getting extinguished. You know? So this soul also can evolve, can reach higher and higher maturities. You know, somebody who's evolved, the soul of the Dalai Lama is much more evolved than the soul of an ordinary, you know, Rinpoche, and the soul of Rinpoche is more evolved than the soul, you know, of an ordinary person. So there is the way of salvation, which is the maturation of this being. And this being is just made of light. Light is an intermediary realm between pure source and between this and this being. I mean, the way I see it so far is that it's made of jewels, crown, necklaces, but every jewel has a meaning, has a knowledge, has wisdom, has a feeling, you know, and can evolve even more and more. But it looks like a person. It looks like you. It looks like me. And often it resides in the heart. But most of the time, the human heart is so wounded, so hurt, so closed, we don't even sense much of its presence. And we are so much in our head, concerned about our ego, who is concerned about this. The ego want to go to this one, you know? But it doesn't know how to go there, how to retain. But in preoccupation with ego and being free from the ego and free from the mind that the ego create, we throw the baby with the bathwater. That there is a person, and the only way I can, when I see it in the inner seeing, I see a person made of light, shining light, and different color people. Like Dalai Lama, when I see him, his point of light has so much green light, compassion. And when I see the Christ, I see like divine gold emanating from him. And when I see another, I see white light coming from them. So those points of light are like, you know, when they say birds of a feather flock together, there are some souls more in the heart dimension, some souls more in the mind dimension, some souls more in the will dimension. And we are all evolving and exchanging and shifting in our reincarnation, because I believe we reincarnate. And this is the one that reincarnate, this being. can take on one form after another. You know, and till it attains to enlightenment, it will be liberated, but will never go. Nobody goes. We are here forever. Enlightenment all means setting this point of light and the mind and the free from all of this conditioning. So we begin to recognize our basic nature. We begin to recognize our potential. We begin to see the kingdom that we are in with more love, with more care, how to take care of the earth, of each other. It's a human, but a human divine. You know, and a human precious, very precious.
Faisal, you mentioned the three realms. I wonder if you could talk about that as it relates to some of the other traditions and be a little bit more specific about the realms.
Sure. Yeah. I think the three realms might simplify the picture we're talking about. You know, this whole spiritual journey and human evolution and what's it about. That often I think of it as like the lotus, the flower lotus. The root is deep in the mud. The stem is in the water. The leaves are in the air, in the sun. You know, these might represent the three dimensions. Let's say the flower opening up. This is the relative realm we live in, which is magical, beautiful, incredible manifestations of trees and flowers and air. I mean, the kingdom at hand is manifesting right here. You know, from the depth of the, I don't know, ocean is coming to a kingdom. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. It has manifested. It has completed its journey from a seed in the mud to a kingdom manifested. The mud can be related to the basic nature, the basic ground of being. It's like mud, fertile ground from which creation can emerge. The seed is that's the most magical thing we still don't have, we don't know about. What makes creation come from source, from the absolute? For me, I'd say it's the logos, it's the word. So every word mobilizes the absolute into five-dimensional reality. What we see now is a five-dimensional reality. You know, height, width, length, time, and life, essence. A tree lives 100 years or 1,000 years. There's so many multidimensionality happening. So the mud is the basic ground. The water is the essential dimension. It's not as pure as the mud. It's not as solid basic ground as the mud, but it's an intermediary influx of different kind of frequencies and energies, and God knows what science is going to discover about it, you know. But from the essential domain, you really can see it as emanations coming from source. Like Don Juan talks about, like there is the eagle, you know, which is the source itself, and from the source come emanations. And those emanations are just amazing kind of bundles of energy or bands of energy. And when they are interwoven, they constitute reality. In fact, the reality we live in, I think maybe about 600 emanations coming from source. And there are infinite emanations that are not the reality we live in, but can be journeyed into if you are spiritual, you know, seeker and go into those dimensions. But let's say that those emanations is what we call the subtle realm, the essential realm, you know. And as I said, for inner seer, they can be seen as golden band of energy or diamond stream of energy or pearliness or silver, or they really have colors, they have lights, they have textures, they have taste, they affect us. And each one of them can give us as a human being a flavor of reality. Gold can give us love. Diamond can give us consciousness. You name it. Green can give us tenderness and kindness. This is the most magical domain of the essential manifestation. So if we call it the 99 names of Allah, they are magnificent emanations coming from the Absolute. Then it comes as this physical reality that we see that is really magnificent, really magnificent. Colors and light and motion and all of those things, and knowledge to be discovered. These three domains have been mentioned in a variety of systems, you know. Like I think Tibetans have, they call them the three kayas. You know, I don't remember the name, Nirmana Kaya, Sabhava Kaya, and I think Dharma Kaya, the three domains. Christianity, I think, touched on it as the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, you know. Muslims touch on it as this world we live in, then paradise and hell, you know, domain, and then there is God, you know. But most of the, in the Islamic tradition, they don't allow it so open, the possibility of reaching oneness with God, which is the being, the source itself. So the humanity's ambition there is more about reaching paradise and avoiding hell. But these dimensions have been mentioned in a variety of ways. It's not exactly, you know, there are no boundaries between them. There are no barriers between them. It is just like there is no barrier between steam and mist and cloud and rain. It's just different condensations of the same frequencies and energies in the universe. These dimensions also, in order to know them, we need different kind of consciousness, you know. And in order to know this realm, we need this ordinary kind of consciousness, you know, which is often assigned to the ego, you know, to think, to know, logic, mind, senses, all of those things, to know the nature of this realm, you know, because it's really incredible, and we need certain kind of capacity to recognize it. So there is ordinary consciousness. And some people, ordinary consciousness is so narrow, so limited, and some people, ordinary consciousness is so open and spacious. But even those people with that openness of consciousness, it's not open enough, it's not developed enough, it's not high enough in frequency to detect the subtler realm. So in order to experience and to know the subtler realm with all its frequencies, love, joy, all of those, and their suchnesses. The Zen talk about the suchness of things. What is the suchness of things? When we say love, what is love? You know, not the feeling, not the emotion, but the true essence of it. In order to detect that dimension, you know, the intermediary realm, the essential realm, we need a higher consciousness, a consciousness with a much more capacity. This ordinary consciousness, no matter how objective it is, no matter how intelligent, is very, when it comes to that realm, very flimsy. It gets affected by our emotions, by our projections, by our belief system. It doesn't have the objectivity of being able to look at things as they are. It looks at them according to what we hope or believe or wish, you name it. They talk about so much about the human consciousness and its lostness. So to see the intermediary realm, there is a higher frequency of consciousness. We call it the diamond consciousness. This diamond consciousness is a higher frequency that has the ability to detect frequencies that we usually don't detect them through this ego consciousness, through this worldly consciousness. It requires more refinement, more discernment, more groundedness, that when something arises in me, you know, I am not taken by the effect of it, by my reaction to it. You know, I stay into, like, if I feel love, I don't just jump with the emotion. I want to know, what is love? What is making me feel love now? You know, then I might feel some sweetness in my heart, some warmth in my heart, some liquid, some density, something. You know, and if I feel like fire with anger and emotion in me, and instead of following the emotion and reacting to the emotion, I would like to feel, what is the energy of this anger? Then I might feel that there is inside my system fire, heat. I am like boiling. What is this energy? Then I discover that this heat energy, this strong energy, is so nourishing, so refreshing. I am trying to minimize its nature by limiting it to anger. But when I let go of this little flimsy mind and look at it, I might discover a realm of energy that has to do with strength and vitality and empowerment. And if I let go of my sentimental emotionality of love, I might feel that there is the richness of a dimension of goldenness and love, and maybe 33 stages of love, instead of just this emotion, and I'm looking after the object and all of those things. So in order to differentiate all of those things, to know them, and to be able to detect them and find their location, they are really located differently in the body. This body is an incredible vehicle equipped with a different apparatus than just the physical. It's the blueprint of the physical. It's a hologram inside of jewels and all of those things that can detect. And they talk about different centers, different chakras, different lataif, different meridians. All of those things are capacities within the system to detect the different frequencies of energy. With this consciousness, the diamond consciousness, we can detect that. Then that is not enough to detect reality. That is still not evolved enough to know the source of this reality. The source is such a refined frequency, such a higher frequency, you cannot even detect it by diamonds. Even the diamond consciousness that's solid and go into the colors and light and densities runs short from the frequency of the basic nature. That frequency is pure awareness. It's not, diamond is consciousness, but beyond consciousness, there is pure awareness. This pure awareness has nothing to do with differentiating those qualities. It's just pure presence, pure awareness, way beyond the differentiating system. So that's the third kind of consciousness. That's the third kind, except I call it awareness instead of consciousness. Because consciousness, to me, implies differentiation, while awareness implies unity. You just see things as they are. Like a baby can look and sees all that there is without differentiating, without knowing this is a table and this is a glass and this is this and this is that. It sees it as it is. But once the introduction of this is a glass and this is a table, you applying the diamond dimension. To know what it is and what its function and what its use. So there are three kind of consciousness that detect the three dimensions of reality. There are also three knowledges that have been confused, relate to those different dimensions. Often there are knowledges in the spirituality that relate to the absolute, and they are applying it to the essential domain, or to the relative domain. And that causes complete, huge confusion, And the knowledge that applies to the absolute, you cannot apply it to the relative, to the essential, nor to the relative worldly existence, because that's a different frequency, needs certain knowledges, And the other one is a different kind of knowledge, different domain, right? And if you are dealing with something in the intermediary domain, if you are dealing with something in the essential domain, and you apply the knowledge of the absolute domain, you end up missing the nature of what you are dealing with. If you are dealing with an issue about love and you transcend it, you never solve the issue of love. The heart doesn't open because you're transcending it. But if you go into the intricacy of love, or the intricacy of love, of consciousness, or the intricacy of will, or the intricacy, all of those, you need different kind of knowledge, differentiating wisdom instead of transcendence, wisdom, knowledge. And if you're gonna come to this world, And as a point of light, I can travel anywhere. You know, as this, I cannot. A baby 1.5 years old, you know, thinks it can jump from the balcony and can fly. Really, they are a point of light. They have no sense of boundary, of limit, of gravity, of the physical limitation, right? So in that level, the knowledge about this realm does not apply to where that child is. We need to teach it how to know this realm, how to honor the limitation of this realm, to function in this realm. That requires a different knowledge, different identity. Then that leads to development of those different domains. Have 3 selves. You know, one self relate to this world. You know, I need to know about time and space and others and all of those things. That's ego, personality, and conceptual mind. If we develop that, then we have a good knowledge of this realm. We navigate in it with more wisdom, creativity, and love. But then if I want to go to a field of creativity, you know, where 1 + 1 might not equal 2, might equal the infinite, you know, I need to have a self that is not limited to rules and regulation. I need to have a created sense of self. To know the knowledge about this world and to have a sense of who you are, where you are in this realm, that requires the development of an ego, a healthy ego, that I am such and such, and I am, you know, this is what I do, and this is what I, so this is necessary for this realm. But if I want to go into the essential realm, I need a self much freer, not bound by concepts, not bound by ideas, but bound, not liberated by the freedom and the richness of that realm. The inner seeing, the inner journeying, the development, the alchemy, all of those things requires a self that is not bound by definition from this world. So we have a self that belongs to that world. And that self is what is known as the person of light. A person, a soul, you know, made of light, and those light are consciousnesses, knowledges, capacities, you know, but not just about this world, about other realms, other domains. And it has certain functioning that goes beyond the functioning of the ego in this realm. You know, I need that self, I need this sorcerer to bring energy, to bring light, to bring love, to bring wisdom to this realm, so my ego can do what it wants to do. In fact, they say that this self, this intermediary self, can also, as I mentioned before, be enlightened. And when it gets enlightened, the ego and the self, this self, become more in harmony. And then there is a function to the self. The function is generating infinite bodhicitta, they call it, wisdom, love, blessings. So we know how to be sorcerers, which we are. We are sorcerers. We are magical sorcerers. We can generate from this source, from the great being, wisdom and love and energies. And sometimes, like you see the Dalai Lama, he is constantly repeating one mantra: compassion, love, knowledge, generosity. He is constantly prayer wheel. His point of light, spinning his structure to generate love. When you are in his presence, the emanation that comes from him is not coming from concept. You can be among many very highly conceptual and philosopher and all of that, talking about complexities, and you only get headaches. Their emanation is like, I don't know, you know, like, at least give me a headache, you know. And when I listen to the Dalai Lama, most of the time he doesn't say much at all. Be good, be good. Goodness is good. But when I hear him say good, I am in his presence, I feel the whole air becomes goodness. He goes into the absolute and activate goodness, the frequency of goodness, and emanate it to thousands of people. This is the glory of what this point of light can reach. can reach this level of glory, emanation, wisdom, and love. So this is the most, I call it the higher self. The ego is the lower self. This is the higher self. Then there is being. Being to me is not self. It is selfhood itself. It's the nature. It's the source from which I can create whatever I want to create. Ego self, non-self, blessings, conceptual, non-conceptual reality. No? It's source, but in it, inherent in that basic nature, is a feeling that it is me. I feel it is me. It's not I. It's me. You know? I'm always like that. I'm always that. But then when this being of light come, I feel, oh, this is Faisal. This is just my own, uniqueness. So there is three self. Self relate to the world, self relate to the essential and can be enlightened to include the three realms, and selfhood, basic nature, the Buddha nature, enlightened nature. So we are all the same that way. But like the fish, they are all the ocean, but they are unique fish, and each one has its own evolution and purpose. So in those three realms, there are three teachings pertaining to different realms through manifest. I mean, you name it, you can classify it.
Faisal, I asked you about the three realms, and you essentially gave three realms of consciousness, three realms of teachings, and three realms of identities. Could you just summarize those for us?
Yes. I mean, there are so many dimensions too, for three. The Trinity, the holy law of the Trinity applies. It is only a way of simplifying, but please keep in mind there are no boundaries between them. Like the realm of pure awareness and the realm of consciousness and the realm of ordinary, perception. There is no division between them, and there is gradations in them. And it's not like the realm of the pure awareness exists only in the absolute, and the realm of diamond consciousness exists only in the diamond consciousness, and the realm of ordinary exists here. Sometimes when in our ordinary reality, we go through these consciousnesses and we go through these selves, Sometimes we are an ego self and we get stubborn and we locked up and all of those things. And sometimes we are in this person of light and we are joyous and happy and jumping around. And sometimes we are just beyond it all. We just sat in peace and bliss and all of those things. Everybody is experiencing those dimensions. Everybody. Just different gradations, and they are not separate, they are coexisting. It's just a matter of where we put our attention is. And are we putting our attention on ego self or self of light or selfhood, or are we concerned about knowledges about our ego, or are we so much consciousness about the psyche and the self and the soul, or are we also about the knowledge, the being itself? It's good for me to, at least not just about summarizing it, to see that we have access to all of those things and we usually use them, but we don't pay much attention to them, Like, I remember my grandfather, bless his soul, till the last minute he died, he swears that the atomic bomb was the size of an egg. It was that little, and as if he's seen it or know it, even though maybe in one way, but that knowledge is an ego knowledge that loses objectivity. Nowadays, objective knowledge has increased so much. We know that it's a very complex system and things are not as much. So the diamond consciousness has seeped into reality and brought us so much wisdom and knowledges were not available before. So even though we call it diamond consciousness, but to me, I see it like manifesting every day in beautiful manifestation in our ordinary consciousness. Knowledges about diets and about food and about math. This is all knowledge is coming from the diamond consciousness. but we don't call it coming from the diamond body or the diamond consciousness. We see it as knowledge that is more objective, more real, more in alignment, rather than the illusion that, the illusions that we used to have about food or about body. So at this time, to me, that's why I can't even talk about this teaching. At this time, there is unfolding of these frequencies, this higher consciousness, pervading the earth, like waves upon waves in the internet, and teachers popping up everywhere in every domain, ranging from psychology to spirituality to food to physics to body to science. So diamond, I see it at a time as if there is a diamond dome on earth and pouring diamond rain. And different people, different souls receiving different knowledges and interpreting it in their own field. A musician writes it this way, doctor write it that way. So this knowledge, the diamond knowledge, is objective knowledge, but it is also becoming an ordinary consciousness level knowledge. The ego, the human ego now, is so advanced compared to how it used to be, I mean, it's like, I think if Buddha comes now, he'd be regressed. He'll never know how to use an iPhone, Really, kids now use iPhone. But with all his enlightenment, he wouldn't know. He'll be puzzled. So the diamond consciousness has evolved the ordinary consciousness and brought knowledges and brought objectivity. So the three realms are interconnected, interwoven, So it's good for the seeker, for the student, when you go through something, to look at it. Is it objective? Is what I am saying objective? Or is this coming from my conditioning, my prejudice, so that way you begin to apply this inquiry, this asking, as a way to cultivate your ordinary consciousness to a higher consciousness. This accesses what we call diamond consciousness. You begin to see your prejudice, you begin to see your preference, you begin to see your limitation, your conditioning, and it sets you free. And it sets free your energies to live a much more open life, much more creative life. In spirituality, the important thing I want to emphasize that because of the prejudice of enlightenment, what happened is that students read things that seem to be contradictory. Like sometimes, for example, Rumi talks about Shams. Shams was his friend, his beloved. It's believed that he was Christ reincarnated. He met him, he zapped him for 6 months, awakened him, and left. So he was a magnificent being, powerful being. And Rumi writes poetry about his love and longing for Shams. Sometimes he talks about him as a person. I miss him. I miss hearing from him. I miss listening to his voice, to his wisdom, to his presence, to his emanation. And sometimes he talks to him about as if he's the infinite, the eternal, the glow of existence. And the student get confused, is he a person or is he impersonal? So if you take teaching talking about the absolute and all of this thing, this is teaching about the impersonal. In order to reach the absolute, you have to leave the personal. You have to let go of the conceptual. You have to let go of differentiating wisdom. You have to let go of it all to reach source beyond it all. But then somebody has to go to the goat market. Somebody has to go and do shopping and wash the dishes and cook. You need instructions about something else. Not about transcendence, it's about eminence. How can I deal with this world? How can I interact? How can I bring my intelligence, my wisdom, my love? How can I resource them, access them to bring them in my worldly life, in my daily life? This teaching is about embodiment, while the other one is about transcendence, and they seem to be conflicting. Shall I leave and go there, or shall I embody and walk the walk? If I need to walk the walk, I need teaching about walking the walk. You know, and if I need how to leave it all, drop it all, I need teaching about that. So please, for every seeker, if you reach conflicting situation, maybe there are two different teachings. They may be even conflicting. The teaching about the point of light conflicts sometimes with the teaching about the absolute. But it is needed because it's dealing with a different realm. And the ego, that some teaching for the ego is needed, even though it contradicts the absolute. I tell you something that was really for me, like, was one of the motivation that jolted me out of the prejudice of enlightenment, is that I had children and I was so much absolutist then. And I just loved them to all of those things. But I always took the attitude of the absolute with them. I am open, let them grow the way they grow, the way they want to, and all of those things, and letting go of any attachment or any grasping or any holding or any conditioning. To me, it felt like that is, I am programming them, I'm interfering, I should give them all of those things. Then later on, I read about healthy attachment.
Yeah.
So much years about non-attachment. I was applying non-attachment with genuine, I was oozing with love and I was intimate and close and all of those things. But deep inside, I didn't allow the full bonding, even though I felt it. The full belonging and bonding, I felt it. I didn't allow it fully because I thought that would be interference. Even though I felt it, they're mine. This is my daughter, mine. Even the other children are beautiful, but those were. But I say, oh, this is prejudice. You know. Then in healthy attachment, I realized there is a quality in being that allows this belonging. It's called the pearl. Pearl that's so precious. It's a substance, it's a belonging that also gives freedom, no possession, but also deep belonging. All of that thing. But because I had the prejudice of non-attachment, it didn't allow me to develop healthy attachments with them. You know, and they suffered some of it because of that. You know, as if they can't belong to me. I am something. You know, like I'm guru, divine, something. I'm not their daddy. They can jump on my back and I'll be their horsey. You know, it's not. You know, like some of that led to so much, you know, especially with my children, when I saw that even though I was giving them the best of an enlightened mind, or there was something in me subtly blocking the natural flow, because the natural flow could contradict the teaching, not the nature of enlightenment. The nature of enlightenment will allow me to have the power, but the prejudice allowed me to regress it, or forced me to regress it. So being free from that allows loving, bonding, connecting, at the same time, total freedom. There is no contradiction. Attachment and non-attachment are not contradictory. You know, it's just they belong to different dimensions, different realms, different, you know, all of those things. So that gave me so much freedom. What is for Caesar is for Caesar. What is for God is for God, you know. That not Caesar doesn't exist and only God exists. He made it so clear. Give to Caesar what to Caesar, but God, you know. So to me, the advice of my heart, please look, see which realm it belongs to, your issue, your conflict. Maybe you're talking about something relating to your individuated self, or maybe something related to your ego, or maybe something related to the absolute. Then you can deal with it within its own context. You know, don't apply rules of this field and rule of this field. You know, even though they seem contradictory, they are not contradictory. It is just a matter of differentiating of time and space. And reality is dual. It's not non-dual. Reality is dual. Creation is dual. The absolute is dual, is yin and yang. It's dual. But the duality unite and become oneness. But oneness is duality, yin and yang. So knowing this differentiation, there are many realms, realm of ego, realm of higher self, realm of selfhood, realm of essence, realm of body. This knowledge is help my mind is understand the map, so I can navigate which realm I am dealing with, which teaching apply to it, because otherwise I could apply the wrong teaching for the wrong domain. And I've seen students suffer so much because of this thing. In the sake of enlightenment, they throw the baby with the bathwater.